All right. Let's talk to my man. He is the what is Danny Segura? He is the I got a good one when he comes up on the screen. He is the Duvan to my Zapata. How about that one there, Danny?
You mean my Selección Colombia champions to my Copa America?
They're playing well. They're playing well.
I mean, undefeated, 3 wins in a row, beating Argentina, defeating top-notch teams like Qatar. Just living the life, man.
All right.
Colombia's looking good.
They are looking great. Well, thank you for putting this together. How were the calls, my friend?
Very, very good, man.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, ever since we started the show, the calls just... There's been some down weeks, but for the most part, everyone's just stepping.
Been a steady climb.
Stepping it up, yeah.
All right, well, without further ado, let's get right into it. And then at the end of that, I'm going to make an announcement. And then after the announcement, come in here, okay?
All right, cool.
Deal.
Sounds good.
All right, let's get to these calls.
All right, well, let's start with the obvious. The biggest star of the weekend, the GOAT himself. You just spoke to him.
Nice guy, by the way. Artem Lobov is a nice guy.
Artem is great, man. Artem's a super nice guy, and he's great with media.
Yeah.
Shows up to fight. Like, I think that's why they call him the GOAT.
He's hard to dislike. He's very hard to dislike.
Yeah. I think the only criticism people have about him is his association with Conor.
And also, like, he was trying to fight in the UFC, and there's a question of, was he winning consistently enough against the right kind of opposition to maintain a roster status?
Yeah.
Which is a fair question. But as just a guy, seems like a nice guy.
Dude, man. Great dude. Yeah. All right, well, let's talk about him.
All right.
Hey, Luke and Danny. This is Darian calling from Dallas about the Cowboys. Hey, looking at the numbers, YouTube views, and this overall viewership for the Lobov-Malignaggi fight, would you guys consider Artem Lobov to be an actual star? Just curious. Have a good one.
I think in our world he is.
Yeah, he is. Who was the A side in this fight?
I think it was. Man, that's a good question.
I'm gonna say Paulie. But
I'm going to say Paulie as well.
But in the same way that, like, okay, I know there was some debate over this, but sorry. Mayweather was the A side against McGregor. But the whole point was McGregor was all the energy was behind McGregor.
Exactly.
It felt the same, where Paulie was the 2-time world champion.
Exactly.
He was the boxer, but all the energy.
Prestige,
yes,
the prestige was with
Paulie. But with all the energy, all of it was behind Artem.
This wouldn't have been a big fight if it wasn't. If Artem wasn't involved,
100%.
You know what I'm saying? Like
100%.
Artem was the key ingredient there.
The two mixed perfectly. So I think in situations like that, he can be. He didn't get the knockout, which really would have just taken him into the stratosphere. But I'll tell you this, man. Like, dude, when he fights, people tune in. I think he has certainly, at bare knuckle, he has certainly done himself a service. This Paulie rivalry has done him a service. So how big of a star? I think it depends on the fight and the conditions and the situation. Mm-hmm. But he, for a guy with his record, that's about as big of a star as you're going to see. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. I think he is a star in our space. Like, people, I mean, BKFC 6 was trending this weekend, and a lot of it was because of, who he is. And if you look at, how this caller pointed out, like the YouTube numbers, BKFC did great, man. And there's a lot of interest in Artem. And also, I feel like he's super underrated as far as media goes. Like, the dude knows how to cut a promo.
Certainly does.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
So he's, he has done, like, for a guy of his abilities, which I'm not, like, demeaning. I'm saying let's have a sober assessment about them. They're good in certain capacities. For that, whatever level he is, to be as much of a star as he is, wow, dude, he's doing really well. He's doing really well.
Yeah.
So I take my hat off to him.
Yeah. Hopefully he got paid a lot of money, man.
Yeah.
Hopefully he got paid a lot of money. Because he put in the
he's taken
work,
between
man.
this and the night fight, he took a ton.
And forget about the damage itself. All the media he did, like,
yeah, you're right.
Putting up with the slaps, the spit, of Malignaggi. Like, hopefully the dude got paid, man. He deserves it.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
All right, let's talk about the scoring, because it was a little bit controversial.
It was a little bit controversial, yeah.
A little bit.
Hey, it's Josh from Alabama. I was wondering how you guys scored the Malignaggi versus Lobov fight. Keeping in mind scoring each round separate from another, I was wondering if you scored them more based on a boxing scoring system, if you went purely with the aggressor in every round, if you went purely with the guy who did more damage, or just the good old hit and don't get hit style of scoring. What do you guys think, and do you agree with the judges?
How'd you score it?
So I had Paulie winning the first 3 rounds, and then but I acknowledge the first one was close. I thought Paulie for sure took the second and third, and the fourth and fifth I give it to Lobov.
So I actually had the first two for Paulie.
Okay.
I thought he was winning the third cleanly up until he took that big punch.
Yep.
And then I was like, I don't know how because he stumbled him a little bit and then pushed him way back, which was more than anything Paulie had landed. So I was like, I don't know how they're going to score that. And then fourth and the fifth, easy Lobov. Here's the thing. Lobov thinks he did more damage. I'm inclined to agree. Paulie did better as a boxer.
Lobov landed the bigger hits.
Lobov landed the bigger shots. So, like, who in the end wins? I can see why Paulie thought he won. Paulie was, you know what I noticed about Paulie, though? Like, there were moments where he was, like, slipping or evading. And then there's moments where he was constantly tripping over himself. Did you see how many times he lost balance?
Yeah.
He seemed to be very rusty to me.
That and it's just not boxing pacing. Like boxing, you kind of stand, in front of each other, and I mean, there's movement. Don't get me wrong, but not the type of movement that Artem was bringing, like literally charging forward.
Yeah.
That's the type of movement you get in MMA.
And the clinching, I will say this: Lobov is 100% right that they broke up those clinches too early.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I'll give a little bit of credit to Paulie. He had inside bicep ties and then around the head. Clearly, the stuff because folks may not know he did work with Ray Longo. Clearly, the work with Ray Longo paid off a little bit. All he could do was neutralize.
Yeah.
But hey, that's something.
Look, the dude didn't show up just to get a paycheck. Like he actually put in the work to like know his way around bare knuckle fighting, which is always appreciated. And you know what? I actually enjoyed that fight a lot more than any other bare knuckle fight because I feel like with most of the bare knuckle fights that we've seen, it's only one gear. Like, look, I'm gonna charge forward. I'm gonna throw hooks really hard and really fast. Whereas this, it kind of felt like there was a storyline within the fight. Paulie was like managing that fight like pretty well, I thought. So yeah, it was an interesting fight.
Very good.
I enjoyed it.
Yep. There you go. Next.
Yeah. Well, a lot happened this weekend. Not only BKFC, also the UFC Greenville was this weekend. So let's talk about that. KZ picking up a pretty important win in his career.
Oh yeah, he did.
Yep.
Hey Luke, this is Josh calling from California, but a PG County native. Shout out to the DMV.
Shouts out.
My question for you is, after watching the Korean Zombie starch Moicano like that, I guess, what improvements have you seen Korean Zombie make? And do you think he still has the potential to become either a title contender or a title holder? Thank you.
PG County. We're outside DC. Kevin Durant's from there. All right, no one cares about that. For the question he asked, if I had to ask you, Danny, how he got the name the Korean Zombie, what would you tell me? You might know the answer, but just what would you say if I asked you that question?
Well, I have no idea how it came about, but I'd say just his style, right?
Sort of,
marching forward, taking big hits, surviving them, and
here's the funny part about it. This is why I think the Justin Gaethje comparison is not perfect by any stretch, but it's fairly apt. In the sense that not the original Korean Zombie. When he first got the name, you go back and you look. Don't get me wrong, he was creative and starching guys, but he didn't have a ton of head movement. He would take huge shots and then just keep going. Now he's slipping punches and then coming over the top and landing on these dudes. So like Justin Gaethje takes a big shot and keeps coming forward. He's what you would call the Colorado Zombie or wherever he's originally from, the Arizona Zombie.
Something
like American Zombie, whatever you want to call him. But Justin Gaethje has world-class ability. He beats guys fair and square with his offense, not just because he takes damage.
He's got good technique.
So Korean Zombie, it's like if you watched his old fights, he's somewhat unrecognizable, somewhat. Now he skips things and then lands. If he needs to take a big shot, he can. The big elbow from Yair notwithstanding. But I just feel like the big takeaway here for Korean Zombie is he used to be okay at defense. Now he's really good at defense, or certainly much better.
Yeah.
And his offense is much better too. He's grown significantly. In some ways, Danny Segura, the name is not even apt anymore.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, and I think when Brett Okamoto interviewed his coach on the ESPN broadcast, he said something do you guys have to pull him back a little bit? Look, you're winning the fight in the Yair fight. There's no need to rush in. Is that something that you guys are going over as coaching? Yeah, being exciting is cool, but you also got to fight smart. And that was something his coach brought up, and he's like, yeah, we made a really strong point in this camp to yeah, we still want to be exciting, but at the same time, we do want to not play it safe, but play it a little bit more safe than we used to. And I feel like we saw that, as you alluded with, like the defense. And dude, the guy putting Renato Moicano like that, like putting him out like that, that's just takes skill. So I definitely think, especially given his brand and the fan support that he gets, I can see him fighting for another title. Although he's 32, for sure.
Yeah, I actually think he could too. He's got a little bit of work to do, but
picks up 1-2 wins and he's up there.
That was a jolt to his career that I think he really needed, and I'm very excited to see.
Yeah, I would even say this was a bigger win than if he would have beaten Yair back in November, because Moicano was up in the rankings, right?
Yeah, I don't know exactly where, but yes, this was. I think he was ranked like 4th or 5th, and Zombie was like 12th. So now he's gonna jump high.
Yeah. And it's crazy to see like how many like fighters also support him. Like he's such an old school guy. Like it's crazy. All right, well, let's talk about another fight that happened this weekend. Some saw it, some didn't. Shouts out to the Zone.
Dude, what is that? Oh,
Gegard Mousasi losing to Lovato Jr. You called it, by the way.
Certainly did.
Yeah, good stuff.
Hey, what's going on, fellas? This is Charles Jalen calling out of Atlanta, Georgia.
ATL Georgia.
Luke, my question's about the Mousasi versus Lovato title fight from Saturday night. Now, I picked Lovato after I heard or read that Mousasi said that he no longer necessarily fights for, the love of the sport, but fights just to make money. And I always felt that Lovato stylistically was a great matchup for him. And he looked kind of large in the weigh-ins when they faced off. So based on what he said, I picked Lovato to win. But with that kind of mindset, is that dangerous to take into a title fight with a very game opponent like Lovato was? What are your thoughts about that, man? And what are your thoughts about Lovato being a threat in that division for more fights to come?
Yeah, I mean, look.
Keep doing your thing, man.
Yes, thank you, sir. Here's the thing about that. It's like, look, every time, if you're a champion in any organization, chances are, may not happen every time, but let's just say every time, you're going to be facing somebody who that's the biggest fight of their life is against you. And they're going to prepare like never before. For folks who may not know, Lovato obviously has this background, but he went down to Brazil with Evolução fight team and had just this ridiculous camp. And you should have seen the entourage he brought to Europe. He must have spent a fortune to prepare for this. It's like, I'm sure Gegard trained his ass off. He's a pro, but did he spend that kind of money? I'd be surprised if he spent. I don't think I've hardly. Connor might not even spend that kind of money. He had like 30 people at his entourage. Because that was the crowning achievement of his career. Lovato will tell you that personally. So it's just hard to get up in ways that those guys can. Partly, Gegard's had, like 50 fights at this point, some astronomical amount. Dude, he gets like, of course he can't. I love the sport so much. At some point, it's not what it is. At some point, you're just collecting a check. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's human life. And so on top of that, you got, people say he's the best jiu-jitsu guy out of America ever. I think Mikey Musumeci might actually be that. He has 3 world titles, which I think is the unique in that space. But in any case, one of the very, very, very best. You add up all those factors: skill differential on the ground, hungry as hell, spent a fortune, lifetime dream. You're kind of a little bit maybe not burned out, but like sort of it's a little bit part of routine. Here you go. This is where you get.
I mean, it's a lot easier to get to the top than stay at the top. That's just a fact, and I didn't see this result coming, to be honest. I said on the MMA beat that I thought
you expressed skepticism at my viewpoint.
I thought Gegard, I thought Lovato Jr. was a legit threat, but like Gegard has seen everything. I mean, you mentioned 50 fights. He's gotten all the looks in the world. Yeah. And it's not like he's entered this fight with that mentality. He already had that mentality since the UFC. Like, how many interviews, did the media do with him just talking about the money? Like, I want to get paid. So I didn't really think of his mentality being like an issue entering this fight, but I guess you kind of start questioning sort of the hunger and sort of what's left for him to achieve, and I don't know. Maybe this loss will wake him up a little bit. I don't know. I have no idea.
There's a hell of a win streak he was on. He lost to Uriah Hall. First of all, 54 fights, nearly closer to 60. Well, closer to 50, but he's getting up there. He had beaten Talis Laichis, Thiago Santos, Vitor Belfort, Uriah Hall, Chris Weidman, Alexander Shlemenko, Rafael Carvalho, and then Rory McDonald. Boy, he was putting the lumber to some of these people. Yep. Pretty amazing. Yeah. Pretty amazing.
All right, so what do you want to do? You want to take one more question, or
what do we got?
what champ has had the toughest road to become champ?
Or
what happens to the future of 125, 135 with Cejudo being out? Looks like till 2020.
I don't care about that one. Do the other one.
Champ? Yeah. All right.
Hey, what's going on, boys? This is Cam from Ontario, Canada. Just calling in. My question is, who had the hardest road to the champ double title? Thanks, buds.
I think it might be Henry Cejudo, maybe.
Henry's is tough. There's no doubt.
Amanda Nunes is tough as well. I mean, knocking out Chris Cyborg ain't no joke, man.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Connors was tough through the featherweight run, but then he just got not gifted, but he didn't have to make a run through lightweight to get it. People don't talk about this enough, but Dan Henderson's run through Pride was.
That's right. He had two belts.
I mean, that's back when they were calling him Decision Dan, so he was getting a little bit lucky, I suppose. But so that was an interesting one. BJ Penn, I would not say had the toughest road.
He wasn't. Was he champ?
He was
no.
Not. Sorry. Okay, won 2 titles, 2 different weight classes.
Right.
What about champs? Cormier, no. Here's the thing about it. A lot of these guys, like, they do well in a division, then they take the next fight is the fight for the belt, and then they just win that one. I might say Cejudo. I need to think about that for a second.
Cejudo actually had to defend his belt on his way to become champion.
I mean, he beat the all-time greatest flyweight, one of the greatest fighters of all time. Again, I know it's somewhat controversial, but okay, he won.
Mm-hmm.
And then TJ Dillashaw, he smoked in 30 seconds. And then, dude, you can say whatever you want about those 2 fights. He went out there and put it on Marlon Moraes.
Yeah.
And I have deep respect for Marlon Moraes' ability.
Yep.
Yeah, that might be it, man. Because
to be honest, I thought Marlon was going to win.
Me too, man. Me too. I did not. I completely got that one wrong. I'd have to think about that. Someone could convince me otherwise. You're putting me on the spot a little bit, but it may be recency bias as well.
That's true.
But the Moraes one, or the Cejudo one rather, that is a hell of an impressive one.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead. Don't come in just yet. Let me make this announcement, then come in here and we'll do this thing.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah,
very quickly.
sounds good.
All right. Very quickly. Okay. Let me make this short and sweet because there's no need to go and drag on here more than we need to. So this is the 1-year anniversary of me hosting this show. I think I did the first one 25th of June a year ago. And so let me just say this outright, and then we'll back up a step. This is the last episode of the MMA Hour ever. Last week's MMA Beat is the last MMA Beat ever, unless they decide to revive it under somebody else. You might be saying, "Oh, Luke, did you get fired?" No, I didn't. That's actually my call, 100% my call. Folks be like, "Oh, no, it's not." No, it honest to God was. I could have continued both programs. I was easily offered that, but I can't. So a couple of reasons why. On the MMA Beat side, that has been one of the best things I've ever done, but this last year has just royally destroyed my health. I had a physical recently and didn't like the results very much, so I need to dial it back. And coming up 2 times a week was just a backbreaker for me, and that's nobody's fault but my own. Like, I'm not blaming anybody, but just in assessing my health, now I got a daughter here too. Like, it was just too much. I tried to do it, and I did a full year of it. I made my commitment, but it was killing me. It was absolutely killing me. So I don't know what's going to happen with that program. I think it's done. You never know. They could bring it back for a one-off or maybe under another host. But as far as my participation and everything else, that's done. Same with this one too. Now, why about this one? There's a lot I can say. There's a lot I can't say. Let me just say this: there is a future. I'm not. Leaving the business, gonna go and just work in a coal mine. No, there is a future. I don't want to talk about that today. There'll be a time for that. I'm sure you will hear very, very soon. Don't worry. There's news coming. I want to thank Vox Media. I've been with Vox Media since 2007. 12 years going on 13 at this point. They've been. I've done everything here. You know what I mean? And I thank everybody who watched it. But for the MMA Beat, it was my health. For this one, I'll just say this, man. It was an honor to be here. It was fun. You have no idea what kind of issues we were dealing with behind the scenes. But this is what I guess I want to say. I feel like we're entering a new era of MMA, and I want to make sure that I'm doing the kind of programming that best situates me to, how do I say this exactly? To do right by the sport. And I feel like to do that, while this has been an unbelievable reward and a blessing that virtually any media member would have asked for, I feel like I need to turn the page and tackle a new challenge, which you will hear about, I'm sure, very soon. Trust me. So, as I mentioned, I want to thank Vox Media for the opportunity. I was the only guy on the first episode of the MMA Beat, and then the last one as well. But my health just got so badly damaged this year. I can't do it anymore. I just can't do it. I can't do it. And I hope everybody understands. So I think that's why I mentioned every panelist on that last show. And I forgot Guilherme Cruz. I forgot Skylar Aston. I forgot New York Rick. So here I am acknowledging them that they were also on that panel, or they appeared on a panel. One of the true great honors of my career to be a part of that. And this one too. I had a lot of fun this last year. My Mondays were always big. They were always challenging, but they were always big. And but it's time for something new. It's time for something new. And yeah, that's it. So stay tuned. You will hear very soon. Don't worry. Okay. All right. With that in mind, let's bring in Danny Segura, the Juan to my Cuadrado, the James to my Rodriguez. Where is he? There he is. Did you get mic'd up? Yeah. Did you bring a cup? Oh, you did.
2.
You want to? Oh, you did? You got me one?
Yeah.
I was about to say, I was going to drink out of this coffee cup, bro. I'm not a bug.
Oh, really? Damn. No.
What's the one they drink?
Got better standards.
What's the one they drink in Colombia? But it tastes like, it's different than this one.
All right, I can just drop this, right?
You can take it down. It doesn't matter anymore. What's the, it's not aguardiente, but it has like a V word. Did you ever see when Anthony Bourdain went to Colombia? It looks just like it, but it has a different name.
No idea.
He went to La Guajira.
Yeah,
and they drink something a little bit different.
I lived in La Guajira for like a couple
Did you really?
Yeah.
What is there to do there?
Nothing. It's just desert.
All right, man. Let me say one thing about Danny, if I may, before you do this.
Go for it.
You can Poe it up. Poe it up while we're doing this. Again, I know there's going to be people who are like, "Oh, Luke got fired." No, trust me, I didn't. This was my elective call. I had a moment in my career where I wanted to make some changes, and I got the opportunity to do that. And I think it's important. I actually think it's the right call for all involved. Let me say one thing about Danny Segura. Behind the scenes is work that you often don't get credit for. And by the way, there's many other people who work on this show.
Yep.
Shouts to Joe. Shouts to Austin. Well, less so Austin. Shouts to Alex and Sri and so many people back there. Mm-hmm. They all do great work. But Danny back here slaves 7 days a week, has 1 million roles to fill on the site. What all do you do on the site? You write posts, you travel, you do interviews, you produce this show, you produce The Beat.
Yeah, social.
I mean, it's nonstop work. Let me tell you something. You deserve all the credit in the world. You are one of the hardest workers I've ever seen. You're mega talented. And, again, let's keep everything hush-hush for what's next.
Yeah.
But for the past year, dude, I have been so proud of you. You are such a talent. And it was cool, man. It was cool to do this project with you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. And I had fun, too. And I feel like I grew a lot as a person and professionally, too, doing this. And
yes.
It was fun, man. I really enjoyed it. It was sick.
Yeah.
Cool stuff.
And for folks, don't say anything because it's just,
Yeah.
But behind the scenes, bro, if people only knew.
Man.
How many fires did you put out back there?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. Yeah. It was wild,
This year took I aged like a dog this year.
Yeah, I went from 25 to, I feel like probably like 33 about now.
You ever seen those photos? It's like, here's President Bush, or picking a president.
Yeah.
President Bush, President Obama. The day they get inaugurated.
Yeah.
And then the day they leave, they look old as shit.
Yeah.
That's me, man. This job killed me. My choice. It's nobody's fault. It's my choice. But because it's my choice, I want to do something else.
Yeah.
So we're gonna. You'll see.
Yeah.
All right.
News to come.
Okay.
Straight up, if you would have...
This is a very small shot, by the way.
You want more?
Slightly. Don't kill me.
If you would have started using honey in your coffee instead of stevia, we probably could have gotten a few more shows out of you.
I had sugar in the raw today.
Okay.
It was pretty good. All right, ready? Let's do this.
All right.
Ready?
Pa arriba, pa abajo, pa el centro, pa adentro.
Pretty goddamn good.
Yeah.
Anybody you want to thank?
I want to thank, Vox Media for giving me the opportunity. I came in this role without any producing experience, but, I still took up the challenge, and I felt like, I did all right, not bad.
Rose to the occasion, my friend.
Thanks also to our editor, Brian Tucker, for giving me the opportunity. Thanks for all the MMA fighting team who's also, helped out to get this show out there. And there's a lot of pieces about this show, from social, from the stories that we write. So
it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, and everybody, for the last year has been putting a lot of work. So obviously, I appreciate that very much. And, lastly, thanks to the fans, man, because I feel like we got really good reception with the tools that we had and the resources we had. I feel like we made this show our own to the best of our abilities, and I feel like the fans really appreciated that. And that's it, man. Just thanks. I'm very thankful for the opportunity and the fans.
And for Brian Tucker, who has been a continuous believer in me, and continues to be. Again, you're going to see. I would say that people always ask me like, "Oh, what's the key to ingredient?" Or what's this? What's the key ingredient in success? And I'm like, well, I'll let you know when I figure it out.
Yeah.
But here's one thing I have noticed: you don't need to get lucky all the time, because that's not possible.
Mm-hmm.
You just need a couple of people to look out for you along the way.
Yeah.
And then you got to make it your own, and you got to figure it out from there. That's really what it all comes down to. So I've had a number of believers in Vox Media. Perhaps Nate Wilcox has been one, and Brian Tucker has been another. And people don't know who Brian Tucker is because he works behind the scenes, but he's the guy who basically runs the whole site. He's everybody's boss. He has been a continuous believer in me and allowed me to do a lot of things here that I just ordinarily would not have gotten the opportunity to. So, Brian, thank you. Thank you very, 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 very much. And that's not words. Like, people just don't get studio shows. You have to work for them, and you have to get lucky. And I thought a little bit of both.